How to get realistic shadow for an image in Photoshop. To get a realistic shadow for an image in Photoshop, you need to consider the color, perspective, shape, and softness of the shadow. You also need to match the shadow to the light source and the background of the image. Here are some steps to create a realistic shadow in Photoshop. 1. Open the image that you want to add a shadow to in Photoshop. 2. Select the subject layer and hold Ctrl, Windows, or Command, Mac OS, as you click on the new layer mask icon to create one directly below it. Rename the layer to Shadow. 3. Fill the selection with black and place it on the new layer below. 4. Deselect by pressing Ctrl D, Windows, or Command D, Mac OS. 5. Move and transform the shadow layer to match the perspective of the subject and the background. You can use the free transform tool, Ctrl T or Command T, or the puppet warp tool, Edit Puppet Warp, to distort the shadow. 6. Change the color of the shadow by adding a color overlay layer style. Click on the layer style icon at the bottom of the layers panel and choose color overlay. Pick a dark color that matches the color of the background. 7. Change the blending mode of the shadow layer to normal and lower its opacity to make it more realistic. 8. Add a Gaussian blur filter, filter blur Gaussian blur, to soften the edges of the shadow. Adjust the radius according to the distance and intensity of the light source. 9. Add a layer mask to the shadow layer and use a soft black brush to erase any unwanted parts of the shadow. 10. Use a gradient tool to fade the shadow as it gets farther from the subject. Select a black to white gradient and drag it from the edge of the subject to where you want the shadow to end. You can also adjust other settings such as contrast, brightness, and saturation to make your shadow more realistic and blend well with your image.